So if there's one person who's made a tremendous impact on my business school journey, it has been Mr. Sanjiv Kaura, a person who served on Harvard admissions committee in various capacity. Mr. Kaura, welcome.
Thank you.
What does it take for a student to get into Harvard and Stanford business schools?
Well, to increase the odds, I would put 5 things that are very, very necessary, and they are in decreasing order of priority. The first one, letters of recommendation. Second, statement of purpose. Third, extracurriculars. Fourth, your work experience. And the fifth, your grades and scores.
It's quite interesting that you put grades and scores as the 5th thing. Why would that not be the most important thing?
Because everyone has got good grades. And as I remember, Stanford admissions director asking this question, everyone has got good grades, everyone is good at the jobs. How do I distinguish an applicant? And she answered her question on her own by seeing what the kid does outside the classroom and what else the decisions, the personal decisions the applicant has taken in her or his life. That distinguishes from a vast pool of equally qualified, high-score people with a good work experience.
So it seems like you are assuming that you have to have the grades as a necessary but not sufficient criteria.
Absolutely.
So is that like a cutoff?
No, America, unlike UK and unlike India, is not a cutoff country, but they see the whole application holistically. When you see them say that, they are telling the truth. And they do like to enter into the why of the decisions that you have taken in your life, whether personal or professional.
So when you talk about these 5 things and what it takes for a student to get into Harvard and Stanford, what to do? Like, these 5 things are very important, obviously, for any business school application. How does that differ for the 2 best schools in the US?
Now, in terms of LORs, we can take each of the 5. For LORs, you need certain elements that will increase your odds. The first is that there should be anecdotes about the applicant. Any recommender who says, why don't you fill the form and I shall sign or upload these days.
That's not even allowed. But
it's not even allowed. But that is really a recipe for disaster. The second, if the recommender has studied in some of these universities or is at least aware of the system in that country, that also helps. Imagine if the recommender were to write, he was the best student in my class or the best employee in my company, the AdCom person will not be able to compare. But if the recommender says that when I was in class and compared to my class, the applicant is the top 10%, top 5%, the AdCom person immediately gets it. And that's what we want as the second of the thing. The third is it must be authentic. There are so many data points that are in front of an AdCom that if a recommender lies just because the recommender loves someone, that will really harm. I would say the recommender must practice what is called tough love, and then that will be the best service the recommender can give to the applicant. And the last, the recommender must invest 2, 3, 4, even 5 hours of her time in trying to write it. Otherwise, it will not be done justice to the task that is given.
So that's for the most important element of the whole application, which is the LORs. But if we were to consider the statement of purpose or essays or all of those writing application materials that we have to submit, what does it take for a student to distinguish themselves to get into Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, and all these top business schools?
The SOP, the most important is that you must be able to explain where you are coming from, where you are going to, and how will this degree that you are applying for, MBA, help. That must be a very straight and a logical line. And it must be the truth. Sometimes in this part of the world, and I'm not generalizing for Asia, but in this part of the world, sometimes we have a tendency to write whatever we want to write. It just does not work because there are people like me, better than me, who are able to read that have they just typed whatever they wanted to say, or do all the points add up?